Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want, since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about comedy. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things. Okay, look, there's only bad things.
There's lots of good things.
No, there are plenty of good things. In fact, we just got back from Boston, from Laugh Boston, the comedy club, and we did this wonderful set of shows that were both sold out, produced by Vicky Cooperman and Max Cohen, a married couple. And the show itself was called Love is a Joke.
Yes, yeah, it was actually a really amazing set of shows. They were there all week. They invited different couples to perform on different nights, and we were Saturday, 2 shows sold out completely.
And I want to talk about what makes the shows good. Not just sold out, great audiences. They came to laugh. The producers couldn't be more accommodating, like they understand our needs. And
the club, too. The club is co-producing, essentially. People, they don't have to know too much about the nuts and bolts, but a club books the comedians. Mm-hmm. They book different comedians or different acts, different shows every week. And so the club had booked Love is a Joke, the tour, for this week. And putting the comics together, the lineups and everything, was Vicky and Max. But the club itself is just really well run.
Great staff, great owner. By the way, they might not want to know about the nuts and bolts, but I think they want to know about these nuts and bolts. And also, the accommodations were lovely. I think a lot of the audience has heard of the famed comedy condo. Sometimes a club will put you up in a separate space called the comedy condo, and then back in the 90s, condos were kind of known to be gross.
I would venture to say that almost all of our audience has no idea what we're talking about. I would say they don't know about the comedy condo. I wanted them
to feel like they knew what they were talking about, and then those who didn't would be like, well, at least I'm initiated. You know what I mean? So I don't want to tell them they don't know what they're talking about.
I'm not telling them
You treat them differently than I do.
Well, because I just know and you know this too, we interact with a lot of people that are not in the comedy world. Mm-hmm. And what is common knowledge to comedians, I think sometimes they're like, oh, I had no idea.
But I just explained it in my explanation. So you can just kind of go along with it. Try yes-anding me on this episode, if you will, instead of just interrupting and disagreeing. Because I know that when someone else says, hey, I think about trying stand-up sometime, you always go, don't do it. You're probably not any good. That's what you say in your head. And I always tell them out loud, definitely try it, because then they'll know how hard it is. You know what I mean? So we have a different approach, I guess, to the common man when it comes to comedy.
Yeah, well, maybe. I think that
I like to include everybody, whether they're part of it or not. And you like to be like, no, you don't get it, so just stay in your lane.
Well, I think that there's just the element of people don't know a lot of things. There's only so much room in our brains for knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so comedy knowledge, we spend so much time in the world. We have filled our brains with comedy knowledge about everything from on stage to off stage and the business and everything in it. And those people out there, the audiences, they don't have any room in their brains for that. They're thinking about other things. They're thinking about world events. They're thinking about their
Similarly,
families.
I don't know a thing about what it's like to be a doctor. And when my friend first became a doctor, he wrote on Facebook, had to pronounce my first patient today. And I said, congratulations, way to go. And everybody else was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then he wrote underneath my comment, LOL, that means a person died.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew that.
Yeah,
Crap.
I get. What did you think pronounce meant?
Well, you can pronounce someone husband and wife. So
I guess
when he said my first, I think I just was like, oh, you're first. Well, good for you. I didn't. If he had said I pronounced my first patient dead, then I would have said, oh, that's tough.
LOL.
Yeah. But way to go.
Yes.
So yeah, not everybody knows about comedy, but back to the accommodations. I just want to tell everybody that this hotel had a suite, an ambassador suite, that was bigger than our apartment.
It truly was.
I'm not really impressed by most stuff. I'm like, hey, I've seen that on TV. But in real life, I was like, wow. I think I said that when I walked in.
Yeah, well,
wow.
I didn't understand the scope of it when we walked in because...
That's true. It just kept on going.
Yes. I've been put up in hotels by different comedy clubs over the years. And a lot of times you'll walk in, and if it's one of those like Holiday Inn Expresses, there might be the kitchen type of place.
Right, a suite has a kitchen.
You're right, so they got the
Kitchenette.
kitchenette, they've got a couch or something like that, and maybe a little desk. Well, we opened the door, and the first thing I saw was, oh, there's a couch in here. But you couldn't completely see because there's a half wall right when you open the door. So you don't see what most of it is. You just kind of see over to the left, oh, there's a couch. We walked into that room, and it was enormous. And it's like a corner of the building.
Right, so it's just windows on both sides.
All over.
Night sky twinkling.
We're on the 15th floor.
I'm Tony Stark over here.
Yes. We're seeing all of downtown Boston, and it was amazing. And then we're like, I don't even know, because there's different doors leading to different places. I'm like, I don't even know where the bedroom is in here.
There was a separate side bathroom, which I would call, that's your number 2 bathroom.
Yes.
That's where everybody can go have a private time and not disturb anyone taking a bath. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to fully explain, the number 2 bathroom, which was 4 number 2s, it was the size.
They all got that, by the way.
Yes, just want to make sure it's very clear.
I didn't mean the second bathroom.
Yes, but it was the size of what the normal bathroom would be in a hotel room. Like that was what a normal bathroom looks like. It just didn't have a shower in it.
Right. So you find that one and you go, oh great, we didn't get a shower. Oh
Yes.
well.
Then we go to the to the bedroom area that had a full-on bath, shower, toilet, double sinks, and lots of space in between those things.
Yeah.
That's what really differentiates this bathroom from normal hotel bathrooms, is that everything wasn't cramped up next to each other.
Right, and it had me thinking about Italian bathrooms. Now, it's been a while since I've been to Italy. I think it was 2003 the last time I went. But I specifically remember in the hotels and the hostels, the shower is essentially a shower head that protrudes from a wall, but there's nothing indicating a shower otherwise. So it's right next to a sink. There's toilet paper exposed. It's just a corner of the room. You know, they kind of just threw one in there. And so I just thought, like, do Italians come to America and see an actual enclosed space for a shower with doors and a, raised tile floor and go, Mamma mia?
That's exactly what they do.
I should ask them.
Yeah.
The few remaining Italian friends I have, I should be like, have you guys ever seen our bathrooms? Like in movies. You ever see Scarface? And while someone's getting murdered in that shower, go, that's a lot of space to get murdered in.
By the way, are the Italian friends that you have, Mario and Chef Boyardee?
That second one was, I took the accent away just to be respectful.
Italian accent is definitely one that you don't have to be as respectful with.
Chef Boyardee's a real Italian person, by the way.
Well, I'm not the cartoon that's on the can anymore.
Is he a cartoon? The Quaker Oats man is a cartoon.
Well,
he's trying to look like George Washington.
He looked like a founding father, so I don't know. He's got a powdered wig on. Or maybe it's just it's an oat colored wig. And so it's just a glorious thing. It felt like, wow, this is amazing. Unfortunately, we didn't get to spend as much time there as we had hoped.
That was the tragedy.
I know.
We were in and out like zip, zap, zap.
I know. That's part of the thing too, is that not every friends and family don't always understand. They think, oh, you're going to Boston. Oh, we could go sightseeing. Maybe I'll come along on the trip, or whatever.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun though?
And it's like, it would be fun, but that's not the way this works. Is that we had no downtime. We got our rental car. We drove there, which we got hosed on this one. We got a Tesla, which not on purpose. That's not what I reserved. It's just the only car they had left, and this Tesla would not charge past 50%. So we had to
I didn't understand that at all. It wasn't even like I would blame a Tesla. It's like I blame the car battery. Like, why won't it get a good charge? Or all the chargers available were really weak.
I don't know. I feel like there must have been some sort of setting I don't know about. It was very difficult. When you're in a hurry with things and you have a tight window, you do not want to have to like fiddle through settings and an owner's manual and Google and YouTube how to like get your battery to charge faster. You need it to just work. And so
I'm noticing in electric car commercials, they're trying to speak to that. Like, you may be afraid that the battery's going to run down, but guess what? Our batteries don't. Like, I've seen several different car companies kind of speak to this.
They get Kevin Bacon to tell us about the car.
Kevin Bacon's dancing on top of one. And then we get one, and that is truly the issue. And it really leaves us high and dry a couple times. Like, we almost were late to the show. We almost didn't get back to return the rental in time.
Yeah.
You know,
It's, just to give an idea, Boston to New York City from where we were located to where we were located is a 3.5 hour drive when there's no traffic. So like Sunday morning when we're coming home, there's 3.5 hours. It took us almost 5.5 hours to get back.
we should have jogged there.
Yes. Just stopping and like going, oh, the battery's low again.
And not that anyone needs to know this, but trying to find a charger in a very confusing parking lot is also a pain. It's like that Seinfeld episode of the parking lot.
We were in a parking garage.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Garage.
At I think maybe the Javits Center. We had to go drive to where I think either the Celtics play or somebody plays there, and we had to.
I've never been in a more confusing garage.
It was the thing is, what made it confusing was everything looked the same. There was no cars in it, and there was no easily accessible ramps to the other levels. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we go in, and we found a janitor, and we were like, "Is there Tesla chargers here?" It says on the car, it's telling us to come charge the car here, and he goes, "I think it's on the second level." We drove around looking to like how to get up there. We finally got out and just went up a staircase or an elevator to the next level. And
you were just running. You were like, you know what? You stay here, because I wasn't walking fast enough for you. You just started jogging.
I jogged to I went to every end, and I'm like, I don't see how to get to this next level.
Because you were really worried the battery would run down. Yeah,
it was at 1%. If that died there, we wouldn't even be able to get to another level.
In hindsight, I wonder, was that guy trying to be helpful, or was he just getting the only amusement he can get out of a day? You know what I mean? He barely sees anybody, and we're interrupting his work. He's like, you know what you need to do
on the top level where
go the wrong way.
Eventually, he came up with the garbage he was collecting and saw us there charging finally. So
I do give people wrong directions in New York City a lot because I want to be helpful, but then I realize after they walk away from me, like, oh shoot, it's actually the other way. And if I can catch them, I tell them, but by then they're just like, you know what, ma'am, you're too confusing. I'm gonna ask somebody
I had
else.
somebody do that thing where it was an older man in a truck just on the street. I have my noise canceling headphones. I'm walking the dogs, and
You're trying to cancel out the city.
I know, and he's yelling at me, and I take off my headphones. I go, "What's that?" And he goes, "Chinatown." And I'm like, Chinatown, Manhattan, because we're in Brooklyn. There's a Chinatown, Brooklyn as well. And he goes, yes. And I go, well, first of all, we're not even in the right borough. You're on the wrong island right now. So
you're going to need a bridge, sir.
So these are the most complex directions I can give him as he's waiting at the light and it's turning green. I go, just drive up to Atlantic and go left. And that's...
Yeah, and then you can look for major signs
right.
there.
Good luck.
That's pretty nice.
Go find the Manhattan Bridge, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. But he was old enough where it's like, this guy clearly does not use Google. He has no maps. The truck was older, so he's the guy who'll probably be unfolding a paper map and trying to figure this whole thing out.
Wow. Well, he'll probably ask 7 more people on the way.
Yeah, well, I feel like he drove from someplace else and didn't mean to be in Brooklyn. He meant to be in Manhattan. It's like, and you're not even close to where you need to be. So unless I hop in the car with you, you ain't going to get there.
Now, do you ask for directions and you're in a strange town? Because you drive in a lot of strange towns.
Very rarely, because I have Google Maps. So there's no reason to do that. Now,
I can't read a Google map, so I always ask directions, especially if I'm on foot in Manhattan. I'm like, which way is Worcester? Yeah, wait, do we have a Worcester? We just left Boston, so I'm thinking about Worcester, which is like Worcester. Worcester.
I don't know. I don't know every street here.
Anyway, I'm trying to think of a street down in that one neighborhood.
I don't know. You could just pick an avenue. There's tons of those.
I know where they are. You're right. Imagine you didn't know which direction Fifth Avenue was. That one always perplexes me as well. Like if I'm at Broadway and I don't know which way Fifth is, what's north, what's south. Yeah, and the map won't tell you because it doesn't locate you in time. So it just keeps turning and turning. Well, y'all feel me.
When you're walking, that's not as big of a deal that it turns, but I do know what you mean. But in a car, it's irritating to have that map feature where you put in the thing and you're in a parking lot and you're like, okay, it says to turn right. I'll go up here and turn right. And then I turn right. And then the whole map reorients itself. Yes. And it's like, I was supposed to turn left there. Why did it even show that direction?
Yeah, wake up, map. So the interesting thing about these excellent shows was that the very first show almost got derailed because as our host is doing his time we get word in the green room that a audience member has passed out
Yeah.
of their chair and fallen backwards and needs EMT. They said, stop the show. Now, what were you thinking in that moment about your set? Because I was very anxious and eager to perform, and I was going through my jokes in my mind because I was going to be right after that host. But I was just like, oh, good, I have some breathing room.
Really? No, I didn't think that at all. I thought, okay, great. This is a sold out show, packed room. This is a fairly large room too. It seats 300. We have somebody passed out now, and stopping the show is unusual. Like, I've never had that in my entire career, had a show stopped. And so usually anytime there's been anything like somebody's a little too drunk or something like that, they just kind of grab the person and drag them out or whatever. I guess that's
help them out.
That's well, we're talking about, those type of bar room gigs where it's like, you just drag them out in the alley.
They're belligerent.
This is a nice club. This is a beautiful club. They try to do things right. So they shut down the show. Now, we didn't realize what was happening at first because Vicky had just gone to them and to turn up the spotlight just a little bit on Max, who was hosting. And not more than a minute or two later, we just see the spotlight go out completely. And
they're trying to signal him that we need to stop the show, but they didn't just tell him.
I know. And so
he was a trooper.
Then they had to come up and, they came to us and said, you need to tell him. Which, there's different ways you can do. You can pass a note. You can just, shout from off stage. He handled it very well. He just talked to them, the audience, for a while, just walk them through like, hey, health and safety is the most important thing. We're going to get back on track. But I was worried the show was going to get canceled.
Right. He encouraged everybody to remain calm and stay in their seats so that nobody would decide to leave because it had been and it wasn't even that long that they waited for the ambulance to come.
Maybe 10. Yeah.
And then he gave the good news that person's going to be okay because they're on their way. And so everybody clapped. And I thought everybody was in a really great mood after that. And my theory on this is because they weren't the ones being wheeled out of there in an ambulance.
No, that's true. And, it's something where I think they wanted to give us a little bit extra too, of like laughter and attention and, hey, we want to have a good time.
Yeah, or maybe they're empathetic to our situation of like, yeah, hope that didn't rattle you guys.
Yeah.
We're all still here to have a good time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do hope that person and the friends that they came with are doing fine. Just to show that we're not like insensitive, but I really was like, I bet they dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
that's just projection. That's just me. That's what I would think.
The good thing is
someone next to me has a heart attack. I'm like, well, it wasn't me.
Yeah. They handled all that situation very well. And so
just kidding.
It was, it was absolutely fine. And so that's a good thing, to have a moment like that. If it's going to happen, that you have professionals around handling it in a professional manner, not complete chaos.
I didn't think the show was going to get canceled. That's interesting that you were worried that it was going to get canceled, but I did start to get more uncomfortable as the comedians around me were like, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for the show? Then I thought, oh no, am I going to have to get worried about something? I'm really working on not getting worried about every little thing, but this is a legitimate thing to be concerned about.
Yeah. And so, but everything worked out. Then the second show, which was also sold out, there was just a group of guys where immediately my radar went on for these guys because they were shouting out before the show had started when Max was hosting again. They were shouting out some things and I went out and looked at them. Just college age, goofy. They really, honestly, they look like high school guys. But
everybody looks like high school now.
I know, but they probably were in college and very nerdy.
Seemed like they were drunk.
At least some of them were.
And by nerdy, do you mean they all had glasses?
No. In fact, I don't know if any of them did. But
so what are the nerd to you?
Oh, they chinless, goofy. There's if I could think of the movie. Well, any type of movie where you see
Revenge of the Nerds?
No, there's Revenge of the Nerds, which is from 40 years ago. I'm talking about there's like anytime you see a movie or a television show now, there's always like a nerdy guy. So
yeah, like in not Freaks and Geeks, but the other one, like McLovin, right?
Yes, McLovin's kind of a one of those guys. Even though that's a while ago too. Michael Cera, kind of like that, but
so not athletic and not like jock.
Skinny, nerdy, white guys.
Sure.
That, still even kind of had pimples. And so instead of being excited to be at a comedy club, their excitement was coming from, we're entertaining ourselves, interrupting things.
Yeah, we'll disrupt the show. We'll show how brave we are by speaking out of turn to try to call attention to ourselves. Yeah, it's a very teenage thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you've never been to a comedy club, or you've never been to a theater or something.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of fun to watch them get kicked out. But because there was the ringleader who was trying to do the Little John Chappelle show thing.
Shame.
What? Hey, yeah, and just doing all of that.
Okay.
Yes, and it's he's making his friends laugh, but people around him were like, "Can I move? I don't want to be around this. This is insane." Because everybody else in the audience is an adult, and these kids, and so to watch, they start getting different security people around them, and just watching, almost like the Secret Service. The security there is dressed in suits, and so they're just kind of starting to surround the table. Uh-oh. And these guys don't. But the thing is, they weren't picking up on the cues. They're kind of like, they
didn't look scared. They're too entitled to be scared.
Absolutely. But that's where their bravery ended. Was as soon as they said, "All right, you guys got to go," they just got their stuff and they walked right out as they were told.
Yes, sir.
Yes, they did do that.
Yeah, I think they got off easy, because if they had stuck around and started to disrupt the show, then they would have gotten a taste of, what do you call it? You want some of this?
Smoke? They would have got the smoke.
They would have got the smoke.
Yeah. Yes. And so...
what I mean is, you don't want to get shut down. It's not necessarily embarrassing to get shut down by a comedian. It's more embarrassing when the comedian says something clever and then the audience agrees with the comedian. So then you feel a whole room turn on you, which is what a comedian kind of faces every time they perform. It's like, okay, now I have a whole room that could love me or hate me. But if you, who are having fun heckling, then get the whole room to disagree with you, it feels very scary and bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. That would have happened at some point. Luckily, they were gone. They had been kicked out within the first 20 minutes of the show. That energy was gone. But overall, just a great time, and we hope to be back at Laugh Boston. It was a really good club. Yeah,
it was really fun show, great comics.
Yeah.
Abby Crutchfield was my favorite.
Yeah, which the funny thing about this whole thing was, the love is a joke. This was Valentine's Day week, which... comedians, I don't know if it's just us or if it's all comedians, but that holiday snuck up on me and I forgot all about it mostly. I kind of missed these holidays. We said in the previous episode that our daughter was going to be off school. I had the dates wrong on that, and so now she's off school. And I think that with comics, because of our schedule, maybe it's because of our schedule, maybe it's just us, but keeping track of when a weekend is and regular days, it's kind of good to have a child just to keep structure with that's in school. We're like, oh, it's Monday, we've got to take her to school.
Well, keeping track of days is one thing, but you're talking about not caring about holidays, because we as comedians are oriented around performing when other people are having a good time. So when people are off, that's usually when we can be paid more, for example, New Year's Eve, for a show. So typically throughout our relationship, if we're going to celebrate something, it's during the day, and sometimes it's not even on the day of the actual holiday.
Well, sure, there's that. There's forgetting, which I have. Sometimes these things just sneak up on me. So you're right, I do, and you do as well, orient things around performance. So on Valentine's Day, as an example, we performed. We performed at a great club here in New York City, QED in Queens, and another sold out show that we were able to perform on together this week. And that's our Valentine's Day.
Right. Together. Our anniversary always seems to have a gig come up for one of us. And the one day I refuse to perform now is my birthday, because I don't want the pressure. I used to want the attention. So in my 20s, I liked performing on my birthday and then getting the extra woo when I remind the audience it's my special day. And then thinking for some reason that I can't get heckled because I'm having a good time up there. But now it's more like, I don't want to work. I got to work another day. You know what I mean? But when it comes to, I don't know, what's another big one? I guess New Year's Eve, really. That was the one I used to love to spend with you. But when that became like a work holiday, I just just stopped caring about New Year's Eve.
Well, that's the thing. For me, there's reasons to take gigs on those dates, and there's reasons not to. So if the money is good enough, I will work those days. But knowing that, like, New Year's Eve is an example where comedians, we get paid a lot more on New Year's Eve because the demand is higher and the supply is lower. But if somebody goes, I'll give you $50 to go do my New Year's Eve party. No, I'm sorry. That's not what is appropriate for that. So no, I would turn down a gig like that. Birthdays. I performed my birthday probably the last couple of years. I know 2 years ago, I think I was in Foley, Alabama doing a theater.
I always think of that as a present to yourself, since you love doing comedy so much.
I do. Well, I enjoy it. Like, that's the thing too. Like, you can mention it to an audience, but just in general, people don't care as much about your birthday as you think they will, especially as we get older and older. You know, when a child turns 5 or 6 or 7, you know, it's all about them first and having surprises, and all the way up through teenage years, you want to make it special for them. Parents are making it special, friends, family. But as you get older and older, it becomes less important. And it's funny to see adults that think the world should revolve around their birthday.
It is funny, especially I don't know that many people our age that do that. So I was just thinking, when you hit 50, if you start telling everybody it's your birthday each year, it will be pretty cute.
Wearing the crown.
It's my birthday.
I got a little
everybody.
princess tiara that says happy birthday.
Yep.
It's well, there was somebody that a friend of ours ran in contact with that was making everything about her birthday, and we're like, how old are you? You're 25, 30. Like, it's.
I don't remember who did that. You'll have to tell me after the show.
Yeah, it was just a conflict of somebody who was upset because they thought the person was making their birthday ruined. They ruined their birthday by just having a discussion. And it's like, people do that at work too. It's like, it's my birthday. You think your boss cares at all? It's like, oh, well, happy birthday. We'll have a cupcake at the end of the day. But guess what? You still have to do the work.
Right. So you're talking about people who, if something bad happens to them on their birthday, it's an extra tragedy. And you're saying it's just an inconvenience.
It's just a day.
Just because it's your birthday doesn't make it extra worse. But yeah, I get that. I know that mindset, because it's like, I don't know. People are like, this should be special. Nothing should go wrong. But it's like, it's Tuesday. Anything could go wrong.
It's supposed to go wrong. It's Tuesday. Yeah, and that's
supposed to be a crappy day. It's the beginning of the week.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with people celebrating their birthday. In fact, I want people to celebrate their birthday. I want them to be celebrated. But
because we're glad you were born.
Yes, but there's an appropriate amount to that, and so some people make it. It's disproportionate to what the reality is. They think nothing's allowed to go wrong on my birthday. Nobody's allowed to challenge me on anything on my birthday.
I should get free stuff.
People do this at comedy clubs. I came to the show and it's my birthday, and it's like, the comedians don't care. It's like, oh, happy birthday. But guess what? I didn't buy a ticket to your birthday. You bought a ticket to my show.
Ooh.
So that's how we're going to do it. We're not and in some ways I don't even want a host or anybody else to ask about birthdays and holiday anniversaries and anything. Like, who cares? That's not what this show is about. It's not about you. It's about, we're the ones telling the jokes to you. And if you want to celebrate your birthday and make it about your birthday, well, Dave and Buster's is really good at that.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you there. But I am going to say, I never cared that much when a host says, is anybody celebrating anything tonight?
I get so passionate about
Why do you care about that?
I just have my comedy theory.
I love going, woo! And someone's like, it's our anniversary.
Well, I don't mind that.
Years.
I don't mind.
I'm like, wow.
I don't mind a woo.
That's
like,
great.
I don't mind an applause or a woo. There's a little difference between that and the people that come in with the balloons and the tiara, and
you're waiting in the wings with your arms crossed, shaking your head.
Like, they want this to be about them.
You have a needle ready to pop that balloon.
They're ready to go. It's her birthday. It's Jessica's birthday. It's like, no. We'll do a quick hat. We're not singing to you.
I do have a little pet peeve when you do a private gig and they're like, it's John's birthday, so make sure you say something funny about him. And I'm like, I don't know that guy.
No, I don't know.
I mean, yes, you can do crowd work and tease.
Personal dynamics between everybody.
But yeah, that when the inside jokes, it's like, I don't know how to make an inside joke for you guys. And really, all they want is like, I hear this guy's breaking everybody's, what's the nice way to say busting someone's chops? I hear this guy breaks a lot of chops, busts a lot of chops.
I don't think anybody breaks chops. But
let me finish this act out. I hear this guy busts a lot of chops, and then they'll just like be like, he does, and that's all you need. You know what I mean? That's all you really need.
I can tell you're not good at doing that.
It takes me 15 minutes.
15 minutes you're saying it wrong.
Ad-lib a very benign
Everybody's
observation.
looking around going, breaking chops. I'm not sure what she means by that. You know how John likes to break the chops?
My cousin broke his chops last month. You're insensitive.
Very. So, yeah, it's,
Riding a lawnmower.
Yeah, I have performed at birthday parties, and there's a little different dynamic when you are being paid to come into somebody's birthday and perform for them.
Then you better not do your material.
No, I have certain rules that I say for people that do ask me to do that. Is one, you can surprise the birthday boy or girl. You may not surprise all of the audience.
Right.
Like I'm not coming into your birthday party to do 45 minutes, which I always say that's a little too long anyway. I usually say 30 minutes max is a good thing for a party because you can hold their attention, but they can also get back to the food and the drinks and all the stuff that they actually came
That's
for.
the last thing you want is to be in the middle of telling jokes and someone tries to put a $1 bill in your belt. They're like, okay, Mr. Comedian, when are you taking it off?
I have had people try to do that, but
have you really?
Yes, I've had people. Well, they're joking around, but
right. But you're like, I'm not a beefcake. I'm not your piece of meat.
So that's one of the things. So, because what will happen is because everybody has the same idea. Everybody thinks they're so unique and they have the most unique ideas. They'll say, I want to surprise all my guests with a comedian. And I say, that's a bad idea because I have done that in the past. I've seen what happens. Sometimes you get lucky and everybody's into it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't. And people are kind of like, what's happening here? Mm-hmm. I thought I was coming to a birthday party and now there's a comedian and he's talking to us and making jokes about us and what's happening. I kind of just don't want to be involved in this. Mm-hmm. If those guests are told ahead of time, then they at least can prepare themselves. And they also can say, hey, I'm not into that. I'm going to leave before the comedian or I'm going to come after the comedian. Whatever. They can I
couldn't do that as a guest. I would just deal with whatever's there.
Well, at least they can be prepped for it.
Yeah, you're right.
Psychologically, they can be prepared for what is about to happen.
They can go to the bathroom for 40 minutes.
Yes.
I wonder if magicians have the same issue because I always love seeing magicians, but do you ever think they're like, they see people crestfallen when they announce their arrival and they still have to do their tricks?
So I don't know because I don't know what a magician does at a party, but I know there's some magicians I have talked to before that they do walk around card tricks and things like that.
I've seen that at a wedding.
So It's not like everybody stop and watch him cut a woman in half here. Mm-hmm. It's card tricks. It's here. Ooh, what's this? Sleight of hand stuff.
I love that.
Yeah, which is fun. A comedy, the surprise thing, if you could picture it, how weird it would be to have a singing telegram dressed like a gorilla just come in and do that for 45 minutes at a birthday party.
Right. Fun fact, I once got you a singing telegram dressed like a pink gorilla for your birthday. Did you remember that?
I think it was one of our first in New York, and I think you sent it to whatever place I was working at the time.
No, it was right here.
Was it here?
Came to the house. Yeah,
Not
I remember
this
because he
house.
changed it. It was here.
Not this house?
Yeah, because he changed in this hallway right down there.
Really?
Yep.
Well, then, no, I guess I didn't remember it. Since I didn't have any of the details.
Well, what a coincidence.
I think there was somebody sent a singing telegram to a place I worked once. Then it wasn't for me then, apparently. And it wasn't a pink gorilla. I have no idea what that was.
I only remember singing telegrams in films. There's one in Beaches. There's one in Clue. There's one in Elf. But,
I know. And that singing telegram, the gorilla that came here, was in fact Bradley Cooper early in his career.
Yeah. Even more fun fact. I want to talk about, we've cracked on audiences a bit, but it's time to crack on ourselves. One of the hardest things for me, and it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, I can't stand it, is blanking on stage because I don't have a cool way to do it. It immediately reveals that whatever facade of confidence or enjoyment I was having on stage, it just goes away. And I'm like, and you can see like my body language changes. I kind of like fall into myself. And if I could help the people at home kind of experience what that's like, imagine you're going to your office job and you've been going there week after week for years. And about 20 minutes in, you've had your coffee, you've answered your emails. You go, what else do I do here? And then you're just like, I got nothing. It's as if you've never done it before. Mm-hmm. How do you handle it when you blank? Is it less of a big deal for you because you're not like an anxious person like I am?
Maybe. Once there's an established act that you have or a set of jokes, I don't think it's as big of a deal, because if I couldn't remember exactly what I was going to do next, I could do something else or talk to the audience for a second and while I'm talking to them, I can be thinking what is another joke I could be doing, or
well, you could even say that out loud of like, oh shoot, I had more I wanted to say about Cheetos, but oh well, and then you would go on to your next topic. But I'm talking about you're just out, you're tapped out, you can't think of what to say. Maybe you've never had that happen.
I do not have that anymore. Like that's the thing. It's
like, go back to your early days and tell me what that was like.
Well, it's been so long ago. It's kind of like when that singing telegram. It's like I don't have any of the details anymore to go back to. But well, that's what all of the work has been to do, to not blank like that, or to have fail safes if there is blanking. Because I do remember early on just going, I don't know what I was going to say, and you don't have any other skills to
nothing
fall
to fall
back
on. Exactly.
But that's what the whole development of a comedian is. So it feels bad in the moment, but honestly, it's not that big. It doesn't really amount to much in your comedy career.
I'm out there with my junk in my hands, and I don't even have junk.
Whose junk was that?
Well, I remember before I even started comedy, I was reading I went to the library and took out everybody's comedy biography I could, and was reading, Judy Carter's Comedy Bible. So I heard the term flop sweat. And I have done public speaking up to that point and been in plays and been on TV even. So I couldn't relate. I was like, what is flop sweat? But once I started stand up and I had never had dry mouth before. I had never had like actual sweating on stage. I had never had the thing where you're blinded by the lights and you're like, I can't even see anything. And you have to talk about how you can't see anything. So I'm just talking about those early days where you're either out of material, you're out of jokes, or you forgot what you wanted to say. One of my earlier experiences, I was doing my very first 15-minute set, and I said, I forgot what I was supposed to say. Or I said, where was I? And then I looked at the ground and I stepped to the side and I go, oh, here it was, and then I picked up the jokes. It worked the first show. Then that happened. I blanked again on the second show, and that line didn't work. And I was just, I felt awful.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I actually know the gig that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And it was at a comedy club, and it was kind of that first gig. You're getting paid to be doing 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it was. And yeah, you didn't have the fall back on. You'd only been doing comedy less than a year, maybe 6 months, and they already had, were having you do this type of gig, which you weren't prepared for. Yeah, you just hadn't been doing it long enough to be prepared for that. And that's true of a lot of people out there, a lot of situations, is that sometimes that is the learning experience for you, that you gain the ability to go through it and go, oh boy, that wasn't fun, but I'm not dead. I survived it. And it's a learning experience along the journey of something. And people probably do that in their meetings. I don't know. People have meetings at normal jobs.
Well,
right?
I know actors do it on stage. Like, they forget their lines. They're not off book.
Yeah. And that's, when you're an actor, I assume that if you forget a line, somebody can kind of prompt you and go, oh, you normally think this, don't you, John? Or
right.
Whatever. And they can help you along that way. Totally blanking can happen. But really, it's something that I know that I would probably just ad-lib my way through. I did do a Christmas party, not this past Christmas, the one before. It was a terrible gig, terrible audience, terrible office party. It was a small group that had been there for 4 hours before they had brought me up.
They served Ritz instead of Triscuits.
They basically all wanted to go home, and they just didn't understand why. And I went through an hour's worth of material in like 37 minutes, just blowing through it.
That's awful.
And at some point, and they weren't really, some people were into it and some people were not at all. And so that can happen too, where you just go through the material so fast because there's just no response and you're just trying to fill noise in the room.
Yes, I hate that too.
So yeah, and then at the end it's like, well, I could just do ad-libbing and crowd work for another 20 minutes, but why? You guys just want to go home. Why do that to any of us? Like, let's just all go home. I've already been paid. Let's just all go home. You know,
that's good that you already got paid, because sometimes you don't get paid until you do your full time, and if you don't do your full time, you worry about getting paid. You reminded me when I had that issue of I'm running through my jokes too fast. I started doing 5 minutes of crowd work so that I could extend the rest of my set, and that actually I forgot that I had that habit, and then I worked out of that habit because I actually built jokes that would last the whole set and paced myself and was present in the moment. But you're also taking me back to like our early days where it wasn't an open mic, it was a booked show, but it would be in like a coffee shop or something. Mm-hmm. And I would have my set list in front of you at the table. You'd be waiting for your turn and I'd be doing my jokes and I couldn't remember. And I was like, Luke, what do I say next? And you'd look at me and you wouldn't say a word. You'd just shake your head and go, smile at me.
I don't know.
That would make me so mad. I'm like, just look at the paper and tell me the joke. And you're like, nope.
If you want a set list, take that up on stage with you. You don't leave it for somebody else to have to shout it out.
Yeah, because you were flustered. You were like, I'm not going to know what joke you're supposed to be telling. I know after the fact you would explain to me, like, well, you weren't trying to punish me. You were just like, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you in that moment. But yeah, it's tough when you need a lifeline and you don't get one in stand-up.
Yeah, and it's a tough one. So back to our very early point, stand-up is hard, don't do it.
Everybody should try it. Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.